up, guys? Welcome back to Life from There. So, if you guys are doing well today, we're going to be continuing our series where we discuss legendary figures within the watchmaking world. Today, we're going to be talking about Edward Barlow. He was a priest and essentially a watchmaker. And he has a less common story than a lot of the other watchmakers that we have discussed, but I thought it'd be interesting stories for us to discuss because there was some controversy in the history of him. So that's the watchmaker we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into that, if you haven't seen our series where we discuss other watchmakers who really have made a huge impact on watchmaking today, be sure to check out our playlist where we have all of the watchmakers there. Also, if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you like these types of videos. Edward Barlow was, like I said, a priest and a horologist, and he was very, very influential in kind of bringing to light the rack and snail mechanism that was used in repeating watches. So whenever you hear a watch chime, he was very influential in those types of watches. Just to give you a little bit of history about him before we get into his contribution to watchmaking. He was born in 1639 in Lancashire, and he actually took the name of his uncle, who was a Benedictine monk. At age 20, he entered the English College of Lisbon, and he was ordained a priest. He actually joined the English mission in the same area, and was a priest for this mission. During his time as a priest, he got into mechanics and started to play around with ways that you can use the rack and snail mechanism. Some of the ways that people have characterized him in history is there's a historian at a church that characterized him as having a really great grasp on many different languages. He said that he was a master of Latin and Greek, and he also knew some Hebrew before he actually went to Israel on one of his trips. He also was a genius when it came to mathematical sciences, which I think contributed to his ability to think about and create something that was extremely influential in watchmaking. Now, when people think of Edward Barlow, there's a common misconception that he was actually the inventor of the rack and snail mechanism. They think that the misconception actually is that he was the creator of this mechanism in about 1675. So he would have been around, 50? Or excuse me, that was really bad math. He would have been around 30-ish. The rack and snail mechanism, actually, the inventor of it is actually unknown. There are no records of who actually created this mechanism, but essentially this is a mechanism that will allow for you to pull on a string or push a button, and when you do that, this mechanism allows for a striking mechanism to work. It's very, very complicated, and I don't really want to get into it in this video because I don't want to bore you with kind of the details of how it works, but just know that this rack and snail mechanism is a mechanism for striking clocks. The actual correct idea that what he actually contributed with the rack and snail mechanism is he actually invented how to use that rack and snail mechanism and use that in a clock or watch movement, and use that rack and snail mechanism to allow for a chiming complication to be in the watch and allow for you to be able to tell the time just by hearing the gongs or the hits of the repeating function. This function was actually widespreadly used in order to tell the time when it was dark, because there wasn't luminescent material on clocks or watches during this time. So in order to tell the time when it's dark and you didn't have, let's say, a candle or anything like that, you actually had to press something in order to know what the time was. This invention Barlow actually applied into pocket watches, and there was a big controversial kind of dispute between two watchmakers, Edward Barlow and Daniel Quarre. This dispute was actually for the patent rights to this invention, the repeating watch invention, because Edward Barlow used this mechanism in clocks and ended up putting it into a pocket watch, but at the same time Daniel Quarre did something similar. So in 1687, this is a really cool story when it comes to this mechanism. In 1687, King James II actually decided to have both watchmakers submit a quarter repeater watch that was going to be examined by the king and his council in order to figure out who should get the rights to this patent. So both watchmakers made their quarter repeaters. If you don't know, a quarter repeater basically allows you to know when each of the quarter hours, it chimes on each quarter hour. So both of these watchmakers submitted their pocket watches, and the king decided to give Quarre the rights to this patent. This was published in the London Gazette, which was a paper. Unfortunately, Edward Barlow didn't get the recognition that he had. Really, the difference between the two was that Barlow's, you had to push two pieces on each side of the watch in order for to know one. You pushed one to know the repeated hours, and then the second one to know what quarter hour you were at. Quarre's actually just had one button that you would press, and it would chime all of the both the hours and the quarters. So I think Edward Barlow didn't get the recognition that he deserved for his contribution to watchmaking, but I will say that his contribution to combining the rack and snail mechanism into a clock or a pocket watch, allowing for the repeating mechanism to be created essentially, was a huge part of watchmaking. We'll probably do one of these episodes on Daniel Quarre to understand his history and his contribution to watchmaking, because obviously both of these watchmakers were extremely influential in creating this mechanism. But I think this goes a lot further than just creating this mechanism. If you really think about it, this function has really moved into creating some of the most beautiful watches now. I think striking mechanism watches are some of the most undervalued and should be more appreciated watch complications. There are some extremely beautiful repeaters from some really amazing brands like Patek Philippe, Lange & Söhne, the common names, but there are also some from smaller independent watch companies that should be considered. Also, I think while this is focused on the repeating aspect, I think that the alarm function in the memo boxes of the watch world and the essentially the alarm function watches, this is a big part of it as well. And I don't think without Edward Barlow's contribution to combining this rack and snail mechanism with a striking clock, that is really where all of this has kind of come from. So he ended up dying at the age of 80 in 1719, which was like 30 years after the king kind of declared that Quarre's would get the rights to the patent. So he probably didn't get as much recognition as he deserved, but he probably lived an absolutely fine life, one that followed God, and I'm sure he knew that even though he didn't get the rights to the patent, it would be okay. I'm sure he was a little bit pissed off though. I would be a little bit angry if I didn't get the rights to the patent for something that I think I produced. It'd be interesting to see the timing of when Quarre worked on the repeating watch versus Barlow. But again, I will look at Quarre in another video because we want to focus just on one watch manufacturer. I think this is a testament to the fact that while you don't have to invent something, you don't have to be the first person to invent something, you can actually just use something that's already been created and give your own spin on it and really make a big impact in the history of yourself, but also whatever you end up inventing. So thank you, Edward Barlow, for everything that you've done to contribute to watchmaking, and I hope this is a tribute to him for the amazing work that he's done. So if you like these types of videos, be sure to check out our playlist where we discuss other watchmakers. We've discussed Abraham Louis Breguet, Frédéric Constant. There's a lot of other watchmakers that we've discussed in this series, so be sure to check out the playlist. You'll probably see some of the cards, you'll probably see some of the watches in the side panel of this video, so you don't have to go too far to see some of the other episodes. Also, if you didn't do the beginning of the video, be sure to hit that like button for us and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.